Welcome. I'm Natalie Marsh. Real estate is all about relationships, and I'm here to help you navigate the journey. Whether you're a homeowner, buyer, seller, or simply love the topic of real estate, this podcast is for you. In each episode, I'll sit down with a friend and industry expert to bring you valuable insights on everything about homes. So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's talk, learn, and grow together. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining again. I have with me today Ken Hynes. Ken is a home inspector in the New Hampshire area. And actually, Ken, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? And are you just in New Hampshire or are you in other areas too?
I am in New Hampshire and Southern Maine. All Views Home Inspection was established in 2002, and we focus in on helping two different types of inspections. Pre-inspections for potential people who want to sell their house and want to get it up and ready for the market, and for people that are interested in actually buying a house. We give about a 50 to 60 page electronic photograph report sent to you within 24 hours after the inspection. We ask you to look it over and give us calls if you have any additional questions. We're glad to talk through any other concerns that you may have.
That's fantastic because I think that a lot of people think about home inspections as being like, I'm buying a house and I need to get and understand what am I not seeing because I've got the whole shiny new thing that I love this place and just don't want to look past anything that might be glaring. But that pre-inspection, let's talk about that first. So if I'm selling my house, what is that going to give me and how is that going to be useful for me selling my home?
So it'll be useless because sometimes the sellers get older, they're into taking care of their health issues, and they sometimes just kind of forget about what might be going on within the home they're living in. And if over the years they develop relationships with like other contractors, like a heating guy that services their boiler, or a roofer who makes their roof, or a chimney sweep that keeps their chimney in good working order. If they have the house pre-inspected before they put it on the market, they can call those service vendors and have them service those units. Tell them that they should put the invoices right on the counter and say, hey, look, I just had the chimney cleaned. I've been keeping up with my boiler. And also, if they worked with them like they did over the years, because if a buyer's inspector finds those items, they're going to say, well, we want our guy to clean the chimney. We want our guy to tune up the oil burner. And a lot of times their prices are higher than with someone you may have had a relationship with over the years. Potential sellers will say, oh, just let the inspector deal with it after they find it. Well, that's not really a good attitude to take. Wait, it looks like you're trying to hide something. I would rather have someone that I have a relationship with working on my house and servicing my units, compared to having the buyer having to say, well, we really want a boiler guy to come out and look at the boiler. We really want our chimney guy to come out and look at the. And plus, it slows up the whole buying process, because now if the seller agrees to that, all those people have to go out and evaluate those different systems. But if you can have a report right sitting on the counter saying, hey, this house was pre-inspected a month ago, and now here's the open house, they can glance at it and say, wow, these people are really conscientious and honest about what they're putting on the market. I think it's good. I think it's good for people to do it. To sell it, sometimes it can be hard. Sometimes sellers don't want to do that. And then they wish they did, because then they say, okay, well, let your guy fix the boiler. And then they find out that it was a lot more money than it could have been. And now the buyer wants them to pay for some of that,
Yeah.
so.
Do you see that on the back side of it, when there's a sale going on, that they'll go and still have an inspection done? Or is it basically they've mitigated any of the concerns around what the homeowner is doing with that pre-inspection?
We do see it from time to time. I wouldn't say on a regular basis, but from time to time we do see that. And then again, as far as the buyers getting a home inspection, the competition is very tough right now. The inventory is very low. I tell them they should at least get an inspection for informational purposes only, especially if they're a first-time buyer and maybe they have offered $20,000-$30,000 over asking price, that at least they know what they're going to be coming up against if they do pursue and buy the home, that an inspector can let them know, hey, you know what? Your roof is 18 years old. It's at 3/4 life expectancy. Recommendation would be to replace it, even though it might not be leaking. Recommendation is to replace it sooner than later. Heating system, 20, 25 years old, and it might be operating the day of the inspection, but the inspector can let them know that start budgeting for that. You may need to get it replaced sooner than you think.
Right.
So it kind of gives them a little insight on future expenses that they may have to start to put aside for versus if they don't have an inspection report, kind of guide them through what their priorities may be. They're just kind of like winging it, and they come home someday and the boiler fails on them. Now all of a sudden they've got an unexpected $5,000 or $6,000 bill with no money put aside for replacement.
Mm.
Like I said, even the way the market is today, and a lot of multiple offers on the different properties, and your offer may get accepted, you should still have the inspection. I'm finding that sometimes the buyers, since they waived it, they still don't get it done until it's too late. And then a few months later, we get a phone call and they'll say, we've been in the house for 2 or 3 months and things are starting to go wrong. And we really want a full evaluation now. They might have waited too long and that system failed. And I have to tell them, this has to be replaced pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So kind of a catch-22.
Now, is there a big difference? I mean, you talked about the systems that, getting them serviced with the pre-inspection, pre-home sale inspection. Are you going through the house the same way that you do on a regular?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we tell a potential seller is that if they hire us to do a pre-inspection, that we're going to inspect that house just like if they were going to buy it again. First of all, we're going to tell them exactly what we tell our buyers. We tell them, look, the 4 major things that we're going to look at first is number 1 will be structural issue in reference to foundation and framing. Number 2, we're going to look at the roof because that's the hat of your house keeping you dry. Heating systems, we're going to look at how old it is, if it's been maintained, is it operating properly at the time of the inspection, and electricity, because naturally that's a safety issue. It could be potentially a fire hazard. So we usually tell people those are the 4 major things: foundation and framing, roofing, heating, and electrical. We look at the plumbing also. Pipes do leak, and we tell people right off the bat, we've done inspections on brand new homes, we find pipes that leak. That's just an unfortunate situation. Could that lead to, mold if it wasn't detected early? Yes. But we tell people those are the 4 things that we usually tell every customer, whether we're doing a pre-inspection or if it's a first-time buyer buying a new home. Try to set the expectations of what the home inspection is involved. And we also tell them to prioritize safety issues first, because naturally you want to get hurt in the property. Loose stairs or loose railings, trip hazards and walkways and things like that. Environmental issues that you may find in a basement or an attic. Potentially could be mold, or it could be some other environmental, like a buried oil tank or a propane tank. So, we tell them we'll zone in on the maintenance things too. Those are usually the 4 to 5 major things. That's what we really zone in on. If we tell people if there's 20 windows in a house and 3 or 4 of them aren't staying up properly, that's not a deal breaker. But naturally, you want to be warm, you want to be safe, you want to make sure that there's no electrical issues that could potentially cause harm or a fire or death. They get the gist of what the home inspection is really about. When we do an inspection that we find out if it's been a flip or a rehab, then our radar really goes up, because when we say, if this looks really good for a 25, 30-year-old house, everything was brand new on the living area. So we zone in and see, well, did they put as much effort in the basement, in the mechanicals, in the electricals, or did they take a peek up in the attic? Our radar goes right up. Sometimes the buyers are all excited because they went to the open house and they saw the house is so pretty. And then we take them through the inspection and we point out things that they didn't even think of looking at. Sometimes you see the wind just go right out of their sail.
Well, Ken, I want to thank you for taking the time out today on this, and it was great talking to you. I'm sure that we'll be working again together real soon.
I look forward to it.
I will make sure that all of your contact information is in the notes for people to reach out to you directly that have both pre and post inspections. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.